Hello, my name is Tammy and I am Meditating Medium. I want to speak to you today about something called fear. It is something that has the strongest hold on most people in their lives. If I were to describe fear for you, I want to look at what it feels like, what it looks like, what it does to you, how it paralyzes some people, how some people live with it on a daily basis. They never know what it's like not to feel fear in their lives. Other people just have it periodically or on a temporary basis and they seem to work through it okay. I want you to know that my definition of fear is unwarranted or unjustified anguish. It is anguish. Any portion of it is painful. And I want to share some things with you today about fear and what it does in your life and what you can do to get through that fear by sharing a story with you that happened to my son when he was about 4 years old. He was a very precious little boy, and it was before the birth of our daughter. And we lived in a neighborhood where my parents actually lived behind us, but it was over a hill and there was a fence that was separating us. And we had promised to go over there. My son needed to go use the restroom before we left and wanted me to stay inside the house. And I told him 3 times, I'm just going to go stand out on the deck. From the viewpoint that I had while he went into the restroom, I was able to see through the kitchen area into most of the hallway, into a small portion of the den, and into the doorway of where the restroom was. It was kind of like a circular little path. If you wanted to go around both sides of the kitchen, you could go through the den and into the hallway. I was standing out there just looking up at the sun, enjoying the day, enjoying the beauty of feeling the sun on your face and Mother Nature and how beautiful the greens are and how much green there is that we face in our world today and how soothing of a color it was when all of a sudden I looked to see that my son was screaming and running from the restroom. I watched him run from the restroom through the den, around through the kitchen, and was screaming to the top of his lungs. He thought that his mom had left him. And even though I had told him I'm going to be outside on the deck, he thought that I had walked on over without him and that I had left him alone in the house. The funny thing about it was that for some reason the child had toilet paper streaming in his hand and was rushing through the house, dragging the toilet paper around and around. I watched him go around 3 times because I was so shocked that I couldn't move. I was just paralyzed watching this through the glass door. And I realized you got to move quick. This is because I was so touched by the fear and watching what was going on and the unusual screaming that he was going through, the raw fear. I'd never really seen that before in him and have never seen it since. And he's 31 years old now. But that moment was very touching, so I froze just witnessing it. And moments later, I went to the door and I opened the door and I called his name and I said, "Come here, son." And he came to me and he cried and he said, "I thought you left me." And I said, "No, honey, Mom did not leave you. I told you I wasn't going to leave you. I was here all along. I was actually watching for you to come out of the restroom door." When he went back into the restroom to clean up, I stood there at the door and all of a sudden I heard this voice say, "Tammy, this is what my children do all day long. All day long they're running around screaming. They're running around afraid that I've left them, that there's not some being that is bigger than themselves, that there's not some spirit world out there that's not watching over them, that there's no angels, that there's nothing actually here to protect you, that life isn't more than what we physically see. I have to watch this every day, just like you did with your son." I want you to know that in going through that experience with my son, I became very aware of fear and what it actually does in my life as well as witnessing and in the lives of others. It is heartbreaking to see people who are actually paralyzed by fear, having jobs that are not what they should be doing, knowing that they are very unhappy in these jobs, expressing that there is something that they know that they are supposed to do, having a longing even to do something, to go to another job, to leave a marriage that is not healthy any longer, to leave a friendship or not be involved in something, whether it's drinking or whatever it is in your life that you are afraid to give up, that you are afraid to step forward. It feels just like watching my son in other people, because I've witnessed it myself. I have experienced it myself many, many, many times. But I have found, in sharing with you a story that I'm about to share with you, I was given an opportunity to go to France and study with a world famous artisan. And while there, I did not speak French and I did not know the ways of the French. And I was in a small town where it was predominantly French speaking. Every once in a while I could find somebody to speak Spanish with, but even getting your hair cut was a challenge. I would wake up sometimes on Saturday and Sunday, my free days, and knowing the 6 hour difference between where I live and where I was in France, I would know, you could actually go around the town and somebody could do something to you and nobody would know it for probably a week, even though I have a husband and we were in touch with each other. Sometimes the internet was down. Sometimes he couldn't be in touch with me for 3 or 4 days at a time, and he would finally place a phone call. I want you to know what it's like to feel that fear. To me, fear is not remembering who you are. I think the whole basis of fear and why it's so powerful is we don't remember who we are. We don't trust ourselves. We don't know who we are and how powerful we are and how much we can create and co-create things with God in this life. We are not aware of what strength there is inside of us. I'll never forget when I was going through a divorce that a friend of mine used to send me an email, and Craig would send me the word strength, and he would type an entire paragraph of just the word strength. And I remember looking at that word and thinking, you may know that I'm stronger than me, but I don't know it. Let me just tell you that I learned while I was in France for a while that fear is nothing more than a cloud that starts to dissipate the moment that you touch the edge of it. It starts to completely clear away, and you start to understand that there really wasn't anything to be fearful of to start with. I want you to know that there are ways to work through fear. There are ways to understand, and I think the most powerful thing, and the only thing I'm probably going to give you today, because there's so much to talk about in this one subject alone, the one thing I'm going to give you is that whenever you feel uncomfortable or you are kind of fretting about something, sometimes there were times in my life I didn't really even know what was bothering me. But when I finally turned around and faced the fact that what was bothering me was some kind of fear, whether it was about something that I was going to do or something somebody else was going to do, or something that may or may not happen, or a storm, or somebody being that I love in a hurricane or a tornado, or anything of that sort. Every time that I felt the fear, if I turned and just looked it square on in the face and said out loud, oh, it's fear. I'm going to walk through this and I'm going to see what you do. And I'm going to move forward. I'm not going to be paralyzed in this place. I'm not going to be chained to this feeling that emits such pain in our lives. I want to give you hope to know that there are ways for you to work through this. If you'll just try this one thing of really facing what is going on with you. Most of the time in our lives, it has to do with fear. And I'm telling you, it's not even real. It's a cloud. It's a vapor. It's not even something that is solid or tangible that you can actually touch. It's a feeling, and that's why I think that it is most powerful in our lives. If you will turn your directions head on and either tell yourself out loud or tell somebody else, I'm facing fear and I'm not going to let that stop me from doing what I know I need to do. Take the step. Just take one step in the direction that you know you need to go, and trust yourself. You are more than you know. You are bigger than you can imagine. You are more powerful than you can even perceive with these finite minds that we are given. May you have a blessed day and know that I'm thinking of you.